So today's the day we get into the big stories of the week, and among them is Kevin Costner's epic western Horizon. We just found out the sequel's release has been pulled from theaters. Today on the podcast, the group chat is here. We got a lot to cover, so let's go. I'm Rad Simon Pillay, sitting in for Elamin Abdel Mahmoud, and this is Commotion. So, of course, they put a film critic in the host chair, so we're going to talk about movies all day, guys. That's the show today. It's all film. We're going to get into the hype around Denzel Washington's new movie, but I want to start with a film the internet is freaking out over. It's not your typical big-budget blockbuster. Instead, it's a smaller one, and it's being touted as the scariest movie of the year. So, does Longlegs, starring Nicolas Cage, live up to all the hype? The Commotion group chat is here. Rachel Ho, Matt Hart, Jackson Weaver. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, man.
Ooh, jinx.
So excited to be doing this with y'all. But okay, all right, let's start it right here.
The letter was left with the bodies. We have 10 letters like it over the past 30 years. And all of them signed with one word: Longlegs.
He'll kill. And kill again.
There she is.
Okay, so that was a little bit of Longlegs. It's a new horror movie that just came out. It stars Micah Monroe, who, made a name for herself in genre fare like It Follows and The Guest. She's here as an FBI agent investigating a possible serial killer known only as Longlegs, and he is played by another genre aficionado, Nicolas Cage. The movie's already getting rave reviews, scoring a 91 last time I checked on Rotten Tomatoes. Matt, we're going to start with you. Look, this isn't based on a recognizable IP. It doesn't have a ton of movie stars. Like, how did it become one of the most anticipated films of the summer?
Well, if you're like a horror nerd like me, it's because you've been following it for months and you're super pumped that this thing was coming out, and it's been slowly creeping up. And then as it dropped, the fever pitch is hit now. So, I mean, I generally get worried in this situation because when we start hearing scariest movie of the year and stuff like that, it means like the normies have got their hands on it. And you're like,
Normies.
Is it really scary, or is it like The Ring scary? I don't know. But I will say it's scary. I don't want to give away too much about the movie, but it was scary.
Yeah.
And I got to see it at like an actual screening. And scariest moment, though, was the trailer for Fabulous Four with Bette Midler doing TikTok dance.
Okay.
Hella scary.
Well, look, I mean, you talked about kind of like the hype for this being wild, the promotion for this being wild. I don't know, like one aspect of the promotion is this kind of viral video that they put out, the marketing team put out called Heartbeat, where, Micah Monroe, the first time she shares a scene with Nicolas Cage, they talk about how her heartbeat went from a resting rate of 76 to 170. And in my mind, I'm like, wait, hold a second. So did you guys set up a heartbeat monitor on her before filming that scene? And so then if you did that, did you have the marketing in mind when you did that?
Yeah.
And was that a marketing stunt
it's
built into the movie?
It's like 1950 style, like when they used to put a buzzer in your seat for the scares. It's like that kind of viral marketing.
Right.
I thought it was brilliant. The only thing that it didn't work for me is in that clip, there's like Nick Cage's face is covered, and then in the movie the reveal didn't work that much for me because the stakes were too high. But it was still creepy.
Yeah, it was great marketing. I mean, Rachel, I know you have thoughts on the marketing of this movie. Talk to me.
I'll say I like the marketing for the movie overall. Like, it really does remind me of when the Blair Witch Project came out. I mean, I was a little young then, but like I do remember we all believed it. Like, we genuinely believed, oh, maybe it's real found footage. That was probably a bit of working of the time as well. But I love what they've done with it. I love the telephone line they set up. I will say, though, the clip you're talking about with the heartbeat, to me, it felt like a step too far. I felt like they went a little gimmicky. Like, they were doing such a good job up to that point. Had they just stopped without that, because I had the same thought as you. I thought, how did they even get that sound? Did they just turn the mics up really high? But then I also
mic'd
thought,
her heart.
Do you not do that?
It's like an IV mic. Did you know?
Yeah, is that not a common thing in the film industry? But I also thought, like, she's an actress, so she's supposed to be scared. So I kind of understand why, like, she is scared in the thing. But yeah, I think the marketing's been great. up to that point. I think it's been really interesting. And considering that every movie now basically puts the entire film in their trailer, it's been nice that there has been something that has held off. I agree with Matt, though, putting the square over Nicolas Cage was a bit, just don't show that clip, I would say, like just kind of cut it out from there. But otherwise, though, I think it's been pretty incredible marketing campaign over a movie that I don't think we've really seen it that effective in a while.
Well, I mean, that the whole like that the block the over his face is it's very much part of the movie too, where they keep kind of obscuring his face until a certain point in different ways, and it's like this kind of delayed gratification. And when you get there, it's like, oh. But when we talk about the marketing of the movie, like we also, I mean, Matt kind of references too, like in terms of the normies got a hold of it, right? Like, I mean, part of the marketing has been this sort of curation of opinion, and it's telling how many fan sites and bloggers saw the movie early and kind of set the tone in terms of the consensus that Longlegs is a horror masterpiece, and many of them calling it like the scariest movie of the decade, or like that's a lot. Okay, and so Jackson, does it deliver on that promise?
No, not at all. I think I am normies. This is where we live. I think I'm one of them. Like, I like this movie. This is a good movie. I enjoyed it, but it's not like I would compare it to Hitman. If you've seen it recently, I listened to this podcast, this true crime podcast, and it's like, I think it was trying to serve its audiences when they're doing this commercial for Hitman, and they were like, in a world where a hitman has to fight for it. And that movie is like a romantic comedy. The same thing I feel like is kind of happening to Longlegs, where it's being billed as this horrible, terrifying horror movie when it's more like, Silence of the Lambs, or like almost identical to Catch a Killer. I thought the actress was the same person. Micah Monroe sounds exactly like Shailene Woodley in To Catch a Killer. But like outside of that, this movie is more about the unsettling, the spooky, the kind of X-Files like uncanny feeling with the mystery and the occult, but it doesn't hit home on the scary heart beating out of your chest, which I understand why they did it, but if we're asking if it landed,
Okay.
Well, the thing is, too, is that I think it rests too much on Nick Cage kind of going full Nick Cage in all the trailers and everything. We don't see that a ton, and Micah Monroe steals this movie. It's her movie. Nick Cage, I feel like Nick Cage could have been anyone, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on that point, like in terms of Nick Cage, because here's the thing, it's like so much, like on the one hand, they keep delaying our reveal of his face and that Gonzo performance. On the other hand, like, he's built into the marketing. Like, we already know he's the bad guy, so we kind of already know what direction the movie's heading in. So Rachel, how does this movie work? Like, what intrigues you about this movie when we already know so much of that aspect of it going forward?
It's true. It's not your typical whodunit, because we know who did it. We know what happens there. And we know very early on in the movie too, they don't kind of keep that as a secret, which I actually like. I like that they did it this way, because it's more about the journey, Rad. It's about the journey of finding
the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Agent Carter Blair Underwood's there. Like, that's the whole point. It's to kind of bring us in. But I think it's an interesting way to look at it. And I completely agree with Matt and Jackson of saying it is not a slasher like jump scare movie. It is a very vibey horror movie, and I think it does it really, really well. And it takes you along that investigation in a really interesting way. And then there is, of course, your plot twists and this and that. But I think it does it and I would have to say, like, I think the reason it's so effective is because of the cinematography. I think it's beautiful. It reminds me a lot of Deakins' work in Seven. I think it really adds to the film and that kind of mystique of it really well.
It's because you Jackson mentioned Silence of the Lambs. You mentioned Seven, and I think this movie is very intentionally, if not inspired by them, I'm going to quote Adam Naiman's review in The Ringer, kind of cosplaying them. So that's an aspect of it.
I'd throw Zodiac in there too. Zodiac's kind of got a similar tone.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's definitely like kind of a collision of influences here, where it's like, the procedural is colliding with the occult aspects of it, right? And Matt, look, me, Rachel, Jackson, I believe we saw this at a press screening, but you saw it with the normies. You saw it. You saw it with an actual opening night crowd. So what was the vibe like in the theater?
Well, I forgot what an island of broken toys we are as horror fans. Like going to a midnight screening of a movie, like I haven't done that in a really long time, and it's all just like outcasts, and there's no normies there. Like nobody's going to see that movie at midnight on a Thursday that's got anything important to do today, or it's all weirdos like me.
So it's just you and Nicolas Cage.
Just out weirding each other all night.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, and Jackson, to that point, like, look, Nicolas Cage's entire career, he's given us all these kind of over-the-top, unhinged, uncaged performances. So where does Longlegs fit in the Nicolas Cage canon?
I mean, this is apparently a hot take, but my biggest complaint about this movie is Nick Cage being in it. I am an avowed Nick Cage defender. Lord of War is my first favorite movie. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, so good. I love that movie. I loved him so much, but he fits in a certain type of movie. When you say Not the Bees in Wicker Man, it's campy, it's fun, it works. If you put that into like Schindler's List or something, you undo the entire vibe of the movie. This movie is about being unsettling. It's Silence of the Lamb vibes. It's uncanny. It's strange. It's building suspense. It's the iconography that Oz Perkins, the writer and director, son of Anthony Perkins from Psycho, who also says that he hates watching contemporary horror movies. He wants to build that sort of vibe. And then Nick Cage saunters in like Jason Alexander in Criminal Minds, if you've seen that, or like Tiny Tim. He's undoing everything. He's so silly, larger than life. And it's also building up serial killers to be these superheroes when they're just giant idiots. So I don't like that aspect of this movie.
I mean, look, I think I'm mostly there with you. I think in a way, Nicolas Cage's performance in this movie is actually a great metaphor for the movie. There's just such a collision of influences. I wonder if he's channeling, the director's dad, Anthony Perkins' performance from Psycho a little bit of Norman Bates in there, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's what this movie feels like to me, like just the collision. Thank you so much for giving me some new perspectives on that. I'm Rad Simon Pillay, sitting in for Elamine Abdelmahmoud, and you're listening to Commotion. We've got Matt Hart, Rachel Ho, and Jackson Weaver here. And so, guys, let's shift gears from a movie that's expected to do well at the box office to one that kind of bombed.
I will tell you this. In these territories, men will come try you. They will take from you until you are wiped clean from this land. I'm just saying that's something you might want to keep in mind.
So that was just a few seconds of Kevin Costner's epic 3-hour Western Horizon, an American Saga Part 1. Look, it's supposed to be the first of 4 films telling the story of the American frontier. This is Costner's passion project, right? Like he mortgaged his house and put up $38 million of his own money to make it happen. But it's not going to be easy making that money back because the box office was poor. The reviews have been kind of brutal. And, this week we heard the August theatrical release for the second chapter of this epic has been scrapped. So Matt, look, you've seen the film. Do you think Horizon deserves all the hate?
I don't know that it needs hate, but I don't know that we need it. You know what I mean? It's 3 hours for the sake of 3 hours. There's this idea that to make a movie an epic, it needs to be 3 hours long. We don't need 3 hours of this movie. I don't think it's fine. This is not me dunking on it or whatever on Costner because he's made some bad decisions, but it's kind of like a Wish.com version of There Will Be Blood or something like that. You know what I mean? Like the Temu version or something like that. Because it kind of it starts off really interesting as one of the greatest stories ever told, the settling the American West. Unbelievable story. Undeniably fascinating. But then it devolves into cliche town real quick. It's all you're like, we're settling the West. And then it's grit. And then it's tobacco, and then it's whiskey, and then you're like, okay, we're just doing Yellowstone now for 3 hours. It's I think dudes kind of get obsessed with an archetype for a couple of years, and this is for dudes. Let's be honest. For a lot of years it was World War II dude we were obsessed with, and now it's cowboy dude. So
Cowboy dude.
Yeah, maybe astronaut dude is next. I don't know.
I mean, I blame Taylor Sheridan for making cowboy dude a thing again. But Jackson, look, speaking of Taylor Sheridan, Kevin Costner, he's coming off this big hit TV show with Taylor Sheridan, Yellowstone, and this movie feels like something that Yellowstone fans should have been interested in. So, why do you think Horizon, with that in mind, has failed so spectacularly? Like, why didn't those
I
films
think there's
come out?
like two big things about this. Like, yeah, he has the Yellowstone built-in audience, but that Yellowstone audience, one, still has Yellowstone, and two, are an audience that are watching from home. And going into the theater for the second point now, it's about the event. You need to have something that actually gives you the feeling of, okay, this is worth going to the theaters, spending a bunch of money, and also I can't wait for the like week it's now going to take for it to hit streaming, which this doesn't have any of that. Like, that's why Longlegs is billing itself as the scariest movie ever. It's kind of a lie, but it's what you need to do. There has to be some sort of hook. And like, for like a comparison, compare this to Viggo Mortensen's passion project, Dead Don't Hurt, which was a very similar cowboy-y thing, but instead of spending $100 million on this thing that has no real draw, he spent like $2 million and is farming it out to small theaters, is making its money back slowly. It has its sights set where it can hit. This instead is trying to be as big as Heaven's Gate and is failing just as much as Heaven's Gate.
So you just referenced a very tragic time in our shared history of film love, by the way.
Shout out the Nike Cortez.
But look, the actor Michael Rooker, he kind of blamed the poor box office performance on TikTok. TikTok once again has destroyed our attention spans. Do you buy that, Jackson?
Not even I mean, Challengers did okay, and that's like its small, self-contained movie that doesn't have any existing IP. People like good stories. They need a reason to care, and this movie gives you no reason to care. Like Matt was saying, it's fine, it exists, but it does not exist in a way that's going to get us out of our chairs and living rooms. And like, it actually is going to exist by TikTok's love. This is number 2 is now going to streaming in like a week or something. And the only way people are going to see number 3 and number 4 is if they actually do watch this online and it gets people to care enough. But TikTok did not kill your movie, dude.
Well, look, I actually think I like this movie more than you guys, okay? Because I know, don't get me wrong, I had my issues, in terms of how this movie kind of grapples with colonization, and it does the Kevin Costner thing, right? Because like Dances with Wolves, it's still making room to romanticize these archetypal Western figures who pretend they're not benefiting from genocide, right? And like the indigenous characters in this film, like they only exist as either victims or threats in relation to the settlers, the white settlers in the movie, and that the movie's about. So, that was difficult to stomach, but I have affection for an old-fashioned Western and the sweeping vistas on the big screen and Costner and Chaps and those Josh Golly howdy moments, So I'm surprised that fans of the genre, even the ones as conflicted as me, didn't check it out. But, Rachel, the second chapter of Horizon, it's been pulled from the August release schedule. There's hope that they'll eventually slot it in after giving part 1 more time to kind of find its stride at the box office. Part 3 is already in production. So what do you think? What do you think the future looks like for this franchise?
Honestly, I think it needs to pretty much become a TV series a la Yellowstone. There's so much going on in this movie. I didn't hate the movie. I'm kind of with you, Rad. I think it's a perfectly fine movie, but there's so much happening. There's so many characters that are being introduced. There's no time, even in 3 hours, to really understand and get to know these people, because he just introduced, I don't know, how many people did he introduce in one film? And then the last 20 minutes is literally a montage of the next movie. But to me, this is something that I do think it'll do well on digital. I think that people are going to rent it. I think if they ever decide to put it out on Max or Crave here in Canada, I think that people are going to watch it. Like, I think people are going to clamor onto it. But I don't see it existing in theaters. Like, it's just not a movie unless the next 3 chapters are just like mind-blowingly amazing and we're all wrong about this. But it just seems to me something that will live on digital. And I know Costner probably doesn't want that, but I kind of think that's the reality of it.
I mean, the man who has been here before with Waterworld and Postman clearly has met his match. But listen, so let's that's enough of Costner, I guess, for now. That's enough of Horizon. All right, we're gonna talk about one more movie today, but you won't be able to see this one till November.
Whose head could I give you that would satisfy this fury?
The entire Roman armies.
Too much.
The general will do.
So that was from the trailer for Gladiator II. It's Ridley Scott's sequel to his Oscar-winning blockbuster starring Russell Crowe. This one stars Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal, and it's got sharks and a rhino, but a lot of the internet chatter this week has been focused on one guy. Let's call this the Denzel factor. Now, some of us can't wait to see Denzel Washington bringing his swagger to this movie, while others are wondering if Denzel's acting style is a good fit for ancient Rome. So, Matt, we're going to start with you. What did you think of the trailer and Denzel's part in it?
Well, the trailer was dumb as hell, and I loved it. It had like all the subtlety of like a crystal meth orgy. It was like just gore and like bombast and everything you want from a movie that's like being rebooted after what, 20 something years? Like it's gotta go full like octane for people to care about this, right? And everything's bigger, faster right now. So I can see why they went this way, and this is gonna be a controversial take. I'm not a huge Denzel guy. I find him to be a bit of a ham, a bit of like an over actor. I'm not a fan. So to see him chew up the screen here, I can see everyone disagreeing, but to see him chew up the screen here and put in no effort, like he's just Denzel on screen. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even put an accent on. He's just like, hey, I'm just Denzel. It's like watching Training Day while he's in a kilt or something. Yeah. Well, like, I don't know. Like I don't know what he's trying to do here. Like, or if everyone just said, if you stick around long enough, you'll be an icon. And that's what it feels like to me with Denzel. He's just like there. We're like, oh yeah, he's been around, and you only remember the good stuff after a while, and then you're an icon,
Well, look, seeing Denzel be Denzel in ancient Rome, I think is exactly what I want from this movie. But so Jackson, what's your take on that?
I mean, going off of what Matt said, the first part, I totally agree. It's big and dumb and like larger than life and fun. And if Wicked and Gladiator 2 coming out the same day, Wickediator is Barbenheimer 2.0. Gladiator 2 is Barbie, and Wicked, the weird musical, is Oppenheimer. But like when we come to like the Denzel debate, like I don't know, what do we want him to do? Like a Latin, like a literal like Latin accent, which like that doesn't exist? Do we want him to talk in like an English affected accent, which is totally ahistorical to like being in Rome? This is a story. This is larger than life. This is history. And like the complaints about, rap being in it, this is not. If we were trying to hew close to history, you would have very strange music that you didn't like, people speaking in either an accent or language you didn't understand, and a story that is not satisfying. I don't like this. I don't like this debate.
Berber accent. How hard is that?
Listen, well, Rachel, chime in. I'm going to let you have the last word on this.
Listen, man, I love Denzel. I'm going to say I love the man. I am here for anything. He can be Training Day Denzel in everything that he does, and I will be first in line to go watch it on opening day. The man is incredible. And I will say, look, there's a lot of actors who are just them on screen. Nicolas Cage is one, Keanu Reeves, De Niro, Pacino, Nicholson. Like, they're all just doing them. I don't know why this complaint is only landing on Denzel. Like, Denzel has done more than enough in his career.
They're better actors.
I completely disagree.
He did not
with
go there. Go take it all.
I'm just going. Let's go.
I will say, for me, Denzel is one of my favorite actors of all time. I love him. I think the work that he's done is absolutely incredible. I'm here for him just chilling with Ridley and just making a Gladiator film, being Denzel. Like I'm all for it. And I didn't care about this movie until I saw the trailer and I went, yeah, I'm in. I'm done. It's stupid, but I'm done.
Make no mistake, I'm 100% in.
Yeah, but I think like they're in for I'm in for Denzel, and all that other CGI shark stuff can go on with you. But but that's the inverse. But listen, like that we gotta leave it there, guys. But thank you so much for contributing to this and getting me even more hyped for Gladiator 2. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for this edition of the Commotion Group Chat. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Jackson Weaver is a senior entertainment writer for CBC Entertainment. Matt Hart, is a media personality and leader of the band The Russian Futurists. And Rachel Ho is the film editor for Exclaim. And that's it for the podcast today. Remember, you can listen to any episode of Commotion anytime, wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and Instagram. We're at Commotion CBC. I'm Rad Simon Pillay, sitting in for Elamin Abdel Mahmoud. See you next time.